Number two was Metro Exodus. A couple of games that we wanted to touch on. I know, Sud, that you've played a bit of Metro. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
I've
it?
I've played about 4 or 5 hours of it. Just to point out, first of all, with the sales of the game, even though people might think second hasn't done great, it has actually sold 50% more than Metro Last Light. So that's a good positive. And that's just physically as well. So with digital, it's probably done way better. So that's a good positive for the game, just to start out. So I'm glad it's done well because it's a single player only game. And, with this podcast, we like to support our single player only games, I'd like to think. So that's a
Definitely.
positive. Yeah, I think I've played about 4 or 5 hours, so I can't give a definitive review or anything like that. But I'll start with the positives. I think the game looks absolutely incredible. I mean, definitely the best looking game I've seen on console. Even more than Red Dead Redemption 2, which looks great, but this game looks phenomenal. It really does. It just the lighting effects as well. The lighting effects, the weather effects, absolutely tremendous. They've done an amazing job in that aspect. The atmosphere is still there from the previous two games. If you're familiar with the previous two games, there's not much different. The atmosphere is great. With this one though, because it's more open, what's great is there is definitely a feeling of survive, like you have to survive, and I think the survival element's really good in the game. It makes you feel like, I have to think about what I'm going to do, with this next set of enemies or the next group, next group of bad guys. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. There is a couple of negatives though. The gunplay isn't the best. And a lot of reviews have said this as well. They've never really managed to be able to nail it with Metro, the gunplay. That's one aspect they've never really nailed. It's never felt great to play in terms of, the guns feel a little bit pea shootery sometimes, which is a bit disappointing. So that's one bad aspect. Also, the game occasionally I've had two freezes. The game's froze on me twice in the 5 hours that I've played, which is slightly annoying. Luckily, the game does autosave very regularly, so it's not too bad. The load times as well can be painfully slow, like very slow, even on the Xbox One X. Sometimes it can take a minute and a half, 2 minutes to load back into a game.
But you're
If you've
enjoying it
loaded it.
overall, aren't you?
But overall, yeah, it's a really good game. And I know, Matty, you were obviously sort of thinking about getting it at some point, and I definitely would recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it. Obviously, only 4 or 5 hours in, so I don't know what the game's supposed to be around 25 hours long. So I don't know the rest of the game or anything, but the bit I'm at, I'm enjoying. So seems like it's going to be really solid. So.
Have you been outdoors much in it yet, or is it all indoors?
Well,
Like,
actually, I've been mainly outdoors. Yeah,
that's what I was about to ask,
yeah.
because the main thing that annoyed me about 2033 and Last
Mm.
Light was having to change your bloody gas filters every 5 minutes.
Yeah. There is still that element to the game, obviously, if you go in like a place where there's loads of gas and stuff like that, you do have to change the filters, but it definitely doesn't feel it's definitely more open. There is sections where, you kind of, especially right near the start, it's quite linear. Like the first maybe half an hour of the game is linear, but then it opens up quite quickly. And the bit I'm in now is kind of a hub area. It's I'm trying to think of a game it's similar to. Maybe like a Deus Ex type hub area, similar in sort of size, things like that. Not absolutely huge, but big enough to be fun.
Is this going to be a game you're going to purchase, Matt?
I probably will. I might wait till it goes down a little bit. Just depends on, whether I'm feeling it at the time. I have a feeling, I feel like I'm going to be saying this about every single game that comes out. I have a feeling in like 8 months' time it'll be on Game Pass, because that seems to be a common trend. Because Shadow of the Tomb Raider's on Game Pass already, and that was another Microsoft. Because this one, Metro, is bundled with Xbox One X's, isn't it?
Yeah,
At the moment, it's like a digital download inside the box, and it seems to be a common trend that any of these sort of games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Metro, the ones that basically, align themselves with Microsoft, end up on Game Pass about 8 months later. So, it's obviously not guaranteed that it'll be on Game Pass, but it's one that I could really see being on there.
The one disappointment I have is, though, how they were bigging up the game, being Xbox One X enhanced, stuff like that. They've really pushed it on Microsoft's side, and don't get me wrong, the game looks absolutely incredible on the X, but it does annoy me a little bit that apparently the PS4 performance is actually slightly better in terms of technical performance, which kind of does annoy me a little bit. apparently some of these issues with long loads at times are actually worse on the Xbox, which is quite strange. And some of the freezing glitches don't seem to have happened on the PS4 Pro, so that's a bit disappointing. But overall, the game performs from a technical point of view and graphical point of view fantastically on the X.